Greetings and salutations, everybody, and welcome back to another riveting episode, a fun-filled episode, a jovial episode of The Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network for your Thursday, November the 7th, 2024, final show of the week, and we made it to yet another week, another great, riveting sports week, and we're better off for it, right? And, of course, the sun did come up today, for those of you out there who were thinking it wasn't, but it did, and we're going to be fine, and we're going to move on with our lives and do what we do the best, and that is have fun and argue and disagree and do all those great things we do so very well. And we'll do that here, as tonight on the program, we're going to do your day in Philadelphia sports history, a double, that's right, 2 nuggets of information that occurred on this day in Philadelphia sports history, as well as we will get into some more Flyers talk. Sal G just wrapped up, clear the ice. The Flyers somehow pulled out a shootout win against the very talented yet underachieving Tampa Bay Lightning on the road, using the backup goalie and having the E-Bug in play. I think it's the first time I can ever remember the Flyers having to exercise the E-Bug option in a game. I cannot think back, and potentially should have researched that prior to coming on the air, but I don't remember the Flyers ever having to go to the E-Bug or even having the E-Bug on the bench. Obviously, it is a trainer, or not a trainer's, but an equipment manager's nightmare when you have to pivot to the E-Bug. Of course, every NHL team has a E-Bug at every arena for every game, just for these types of situations. And we'll get into some of that game. We'll continue the conversation because, yes, there is a goal that I want to rant about and get very frustrated about. Even though there was only 2 goals scored in regulation, and then the 2 shootout goals, there's still a goal that kind of pissed me off that I want to talk about tonight. And we're going to get a little bit more into the Eagles-Cowboys. Again, not much more, because holding off for the big Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn program that was supposed to be on tonight, but due to a scheduling conflict, we had to flex it to Saturday night. So we're going to be here with you on Saturday night at 6 p.m. for the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, as we will properly break down the Cowboys and review the Jaguar game. So that's Saturday night at 6 p.m. with Kyle. I had to make a scheduling flip due to some conflicting schedules in both of our lives. So not just Kyle, me too. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to wrap up the program with our becoming my favorite, or it is my favorite segment. It's our card review segment of the night, as we will finish our second week with the card reviews. Positive reviews about that, by the way. So I'm enjoying doing that. So lot to get into tonight. And let's not waste any time, shall we? Let's not waste any time with more pleasantries. Let's jump right into it. Your day in Philadelphia sports history, November 7th. 2 major things occurred on this day. The city of Philadelphia, voters, an election occurred on this day in 1933. Not necessarily the election that you're thinking about, but it was an election held by the city to overturn the city's blue laws. There was a blue law on the books in Philadelphia that prevented professional sports from being played on Sundays. It's amazing that they would have such a thing. With the Phillies and the A's being in town for years prior to that. What do they do on Sundays? How do they always play on the road prior to 1933 on Sundays? But on this day, the game, the blue law was overturned. Now, of course, if you also know your history, what was also 1933? Well, that was the first year of the Eagles. And obviously, to have a professional football team in your city, you kind of have to be able to play sports on a Sunday. So that's sort of mandatory. Or you're going to be, your team will never play home. They'll play the entire season on the road. But they were able to get it overturned on this day. And to kind of christen that moment, the Eagles played a game on this day. They played against the Chicago Bears. And it was they played on November 12th, which was a few days later. And it was a 3-3 tie on their very first Sunday home game after the blue law was repealed in 1933. So there was your first nugget of knowledge. The blue law that prevented professional sports from being played on Sundays in Philadelphia was repealed on this day in 1933. And then a more somber note, on this day in 2017, former Blue Jay, former Phillies pitcher Roy Halladay died in a plane crash into the Gulf of Mexico, about 30 miles from Clearwater. And of course, we all remember where we were when we heard the news. A tragic issue, a tragic situation. Regardless of what were the circumstances that might have led up to the crash, whenever somebody loses their life, it's tragic, and especially somebody of Roy Halladay's kind of stature. Now, did we get the best of Roy Halladay? There's a debate running around Philadelphia that Roy Halladay wasn't necessarily is considered an all-time Philly. I don't know. I'm sort of. I don't really. I have both sides of that opinion. It's hard for me to consider somebody who only played here for 3 years or 5 years as an all-time Philly, and really, to be honest with you, those final 2 years that he was here, well, he wasn't the same type of pitcher. The first 3 years was Roy Halladay vintage, 2010 and 2011, obviously being the anchor of one of the best major league staffs in all of baseball for those 2 seasons, especially in 2011. He was definitely something special. Well, no hitters, perfect games. We haven't had a pitcher kind of do that type of thing as regularly as he was doing it for us since Steve Carlton. And I don't even know if Carlton really was able to kind of throw perfect games and no hitters like that as well. And of course, what he did in the postseason against the Reds in the NLDS back in 11 or 10 will live in infamy in Philadelphia Philly history. So there's an argument to be made about it. There is, and obviously when somebody perishes, it puts all that stuff into perspective. But say what you want about Roy Halladay and his status as an all-time Philly. He was amazing when he was here. And the tragic loss of him on this day in 2017, transcends sports when life intervenes. And it was just, it was terrible, terrible news. Halladay retired as a Philly. Just a tragic day in Philadelphia sports history. The death of Roy Halladay on this day occurred in 2017, and the repealing of the city's blue laws back in 1933 to pave the way for professional sports to be played on Sundays in Philadelphia. Just that stat, or that the fact that you couldn't play professional sports in Philadelphia, in the city limits of Philadelphia, on Sundays until 1933, it's just absolutely still blows my mind. What in the hell were the Phillies and A's doing on Sundays during the baseball season? Prior to that, it would have been through the 1933 season. It would have their first year of allowing to be played on Sundays would have been 34. So that's an amazing piece of information. It boggles my freaking mind. But there you go. There's your days in Philadelphia. There's your moments in Philadelphia sports history. Brought to you by the good folks here at the It's a Wrap Sports Network, who they wanted me to remind you that we would really like your subscribe, and your notification, and do all those things for us as we're trying to build this thing from the ground up, making very, very minimal progress. But we are making progress, and that's all that matters. We're not going backwards. We are going forwards. Just have to go a little faster. So please tell a friend, tell a friend, and tell a friend, and get us up there launch us into the stratosphere so we can go head to head with the big boys, which of course is our dream, and it's my dream. MattyB's dream. So that's all you need to know. But yeah, there you go. All right, so let's continue the Flyer conversation because I think it's valid. It's overall, it ended up being a very good game to watch, and it was an awesome Flyers win. But of course, it frustrated me along the way as well because there was a few things going on in this game that I just can't really wrap my head around, and I want to get into it. And yes, I am going to do some video footage tonight. And yes, it's not going to be the wrong player. I guarantee you, I have both of these players. I know who they are, and I will not screw that up like I did the other night in the Sanheim goal. So please, again, I apologize profusely for that. It was a rookie mistake, and I messed that up. But a couple of things that happened in this game are just, again, sort of stark reminders of how far off we are as a team. And I pull it up there. Yeah, I'm going to take this off I'm not quite ready for the goal yet, but we'll get into the goal here in a second. But Obviously, the news started prior to the start of this game. Matt V. Mitchkoff given kind of a load management day, a rest day, a day to kind of step back and watch from afar the reigning NHL Rookie Player of the Month, who has been, you can see he's right there, but you can also see that he's still about maybe a half a step off of really understanding what's happening out there at this level, right? And what I mean by that is this game moves pretty fast at the NHL level, and Mitchkoff can obviously hang. I'm not saying he can't, but recently, within the last, I say 5 or 6 games, he just seems like he's, again, about a half a millimeter of a step behind. And an opportunity to kind of sit back up there and look at things from afar, I'm okay with it. He's 19 goddamn years old. His career is literally just beginning, and any kind of fresh perspective that he can get is fine by me. And he's not above the law. I mean, he's not. If he's not performing, then he needs to sit. But the bigger story for me was the Alexei Kovasov pregame lower body injury that he sustained that disabled him from the game. I mean, he was supposed to be the starter. This is the second game in a row that the Flyers have lost a goalie in game. I don't know what's going on with that. But he had to go up to the press box along with Mitchkoff, which I guess you got to kind of look at that as positive for the young man. 2 people now up there who speak Russian. They can have a conversation during the game, maybe make it a little bit more fun. But they're up there in the press box, and the Flyers had to exercise the E-bug, the emergency backup goalie policy of the National Hockey League. Now, for those of you who don't know how this works, it's a stunning thing. So every NHL team at their arena, at their home arena, has to have an emergency goalie hanging out somewhere in the depths of the arena. And what that person does is he sits there and he waits for the opportunity to play for either team. It's not the Tampa Bay Lightning's goalie. It's not the Flyers' backup goalie or E-bug. It's the NHL E-bug. He's completely neutral, and whoever requires him, he'll jump in and assist them. And as I said at the top of the show, I don't remember the Flyers ever having to go down the E-bug road. I just don't remember it. And again, maybe if I was more thorough in my craft, I would have researched that prior to coming on the air. But whatever, we'll get past that. But his name was, I got to look it up. I remembered it, then I lost it. Oh, that was his name. His name was Kyle Conan. Now, what Kyle probably is, and again, maybe I should have researched a little bit about Kyle. These are like guys that, I'm not going to tell you that these are not beer league goalies. These are guys that know how to play the game, and they've been playing the game all along. But they dream of this moment. Remember a few years back, the Carolina Hurricanes had to exercise their E-bug, and the guy went out, and I think, did he not, like, the Hurricanes were down 4-0 in the game or something. I don't know what was the circumstances, but he actually led them to a victory, and which that guy will never, ever forget that moment the rest of his life. So these guys have got to be ready to play. Now, of course, it is what it is, but thankfully, all he did was sit on the bench and got himself a souvenir jersey out the deal. Because, as I mentioned also at the top, this was an equipment manager's nightmare to have to scramble at the last minute and throw together a whole kit for this guy, get him in a uniform, get him fitted, and get him fitted in gear, and hopefully, because he has his own gear, he brings his own gear to the stadium, but there's they got to check it, make sure that it's okay, and everything. So, but the Flyers were able to maneuver that and get that taken care of. And he sat there, and he had a front row seat, probably chewing every fingernail he had, praying to God that Fedotov, who has not had a good track record lately, was able to hang around in this game. And for Fedotov's credit, he played pretty well tonight. I got to give him credit there. I got to give him credit. He played well. The Flyers played okay in front of him. There were a lot of scoring opportunities kind of garnered at him. The Flyers did outshoot the Lightning tonight, 31-23, which is amazing to see that. 100% amazing to see that. I'm glad to see that. They finally actually were able to get some pucks on net and try to alleviate some of that burden there. But a really good, entertaining game, back and forth. Things that ail this team continue to ail them. The mind-numbing. Again, Tortorella said this weeks ago that the team has an epidemic when it comes to missed shots. What's the level above an epidemic? Is that a pandemic? Is that how you elevate an epidemic to a pandemic? Because I've never seen a team that can't hit the net as much as I have seen with this team. What was it tonight? Two breakaways that they shot wide on. Noah Cates shot wide, and then Richard, who was brought up to replace Paling, he shot wide on a breakaway. Had an opportunity at the end of the game to kind of put it away in regulation for the Flyers, which would have been an amazing comeback. But I've never seen a hockey team in my life so inept on putting the puck on the friggin' net. I get it. It's not that big, but it's big enough. And when you're in a breakaway situation, there's a couple types of situations you can accept a shot wide. From the point, from the slot, from the dot. I mean, I can give it all. But when you're right there in front of the friggin' net, I don't get it. It was a problem last year. And Tippett was the poster boy for it. But the Flyers rampantly did it as a team last year. And now it is spread around the ranks this season. Tippett is still the poster boy. But there's other players that are challenging him now for Lord and King of the wide shot. And it's just so frustrating. It's so very frustrating for a team that's desperate for offense. And they're just shooting the puck wide. And then there was the Travis Sanheim 2-on-1, where as he's coming down, I understand he's a damn offensive defenseman. I understand the Flyers rely on his offensive ability as probably more than they rely on his defensive ability. But the indecision on Sanheim's part to not pass a puck to a wide open guy who had no defenders, who had a one-on-one shot against Valesky. It would have been an interesting moment because you got the best goalie in the world and all that. But Travis Sanheim's inability to make up his mind in a timely manner, or I should say in an NHL timely manner, to try to generate some sort of offense just infuriates me. And again, I railed on Sanheim the other night incorrectly because it was not Sanheim. It was Zamula who was involved in that Jack Drury pass between the legs goal. This was Sanheim, and there ain't no mistaking that. Number 6 was very, very, very evident on this play. But just that frustration level, man, to watch the indecision, and that's what it comes down to for me, for all the offensive ineptitude of this team. They're indecisive. They're not sure what they want to do. They're not making decisions timely. And that's why you're getting shots that are shot wide. That's why you're getting missed opportunities with odd man rushes. Things that were not happening as much last year as they are now. Now, again, the shots wide last year was a problem, but it was somewhat contained in the Owen Tippett and a few others. Everybody has that problem this year. It's because of indecision. They're waiting too long to figure out what they want to do. And that's why the transitional game, in my opinion, has suffered the most. Because of the indecision, either with the outlet pass or with the actual creation of the offensive play. And it's very frustrating. And with a young team, it's to be expected. But I guess I'm just having a problem with the young team this year. Why weren't they, they did it last year, but now they're not doing it. That's, I guess, the hardest thing I'm trying to wrap my head around when it comes to that. So, Frank, what's going on, man? Good to see you, buddy. Great topic on Roy Halladay, one of my favorites. Great win by the Fedotov. Of course, it's a game with a lot of our goalies and star players to win. Talk about throwing more confusion in the mix. Yeah, no, it was, Frankie, 100%. And then we're going to get into, again, the most frustrating moment of this game for me, which was the Kucherov goal. Now, context, it's Kucherov. It's one of the best players in the world. Top 5. Is Connor McDavid the best? Is everybody going to give Connor McDavid? I mean, who is the best hockey player in the world? Is it Connor? Is Kucherov in the top 3? Is he in the top 5? I'm maybe not top 3, but I'm definitely going to go top 5. But an argument can be made for top 3 as well. McDavid is up there. Is he 1? Is Connor McDavid the best? Ovechkin's kind of like getting old, right? Crosby's old. I mean, does McDavid hold the title right now as the best hockey player in the world? I'm asking. I'm curious to hear your opinions about that. Fun fact of one of the Flyers e-bug players in my hockey league was U.S. Yeah, okay. So Frankie brings up a good point. So he's saying that one of the Flyers e-bug plays in my hockey league with UAHL. Daniel Spencer, great guy, good friend. So I want to be very careful, and I don't want to disparage the UAHL as a beer league. And that's not what I want to do. But that's exactly what these types of players are. They come from lower level, semi-pro leagues, some minor, like lower minor level professional leagues. And they're employed by the arena and by the Flyers to sit there on game night and just wait for the opportunity if it ever arises. And I mean, good way to make an extra buck, right? I mean, these guys know what they're doing. I'm not saying that they don't, but yeah. So that's the e-bug thing. And Frank, if you're still listening, do you remember the Flyers ever having to exercise the e-bug before? Because I personally don't. So I'm curious to know if you have any information on that. But let's get to the goal that bothers me. Okay, I'm going to get to the goal that bothers me. The Kucherov goal, the coast to coast, tape to tape, by himself, pretty much one outlet pass. There's Kucherov coming over here. He is right here, and then he's going to get a dinky little pass, and then he's going to take that and go the distance. And when I mean go the distance, he's going to go all the way. And I'm going to talk about some of the things along the way that just annoy me. Now, this was an actual turnover behind the Flyers, or behind the Lightning net. Not a giveaway, even though the Flyers did commit. What was it tonight, man? It was like 20 giveaways again. Yeah, 20 giveaways tonight for the Flyers. This thing's out of control. But this was not a giveaway. This was a turnover. So what's going to happen is Kucherov's going to get an outlet pass, very innocent-looking outlet pass, as this entire thing, this play was very innocent-looking to begin with. And then he's going to turn off the ice, and let's watch this thing kind of roll and develop. So right here you got, okay, so we got a situation that's not very appealing to an offensive team. You got a 4-on-1, basically. You can maybe count number 20 there as a 4-on-2, but this is not a goal-scoring opportunity. They're still in the Tampa Bay zone. They're coming out of the zone, but the Flyers have extreme numbers on this play. So there's no sense to be worried about it at this point. But that's going to change here in a second. So there goes. Number 20 is going off on a line change for the Lightning. Because, again, this is not a serious scoring opportunity. But what I want you to do is pay attention to the two Flyers. There's Travis Konechny. He's right here with his hand up. Now, this could be, do you want me to come off or do you want me to stay on? This could be Travis Konechny signaling to the bench, asking, what do you want me to do here, off or on? Because of how innocent this play looks. As you can see, both Flyers players. Is that Tippett there? No, that's not Tippett. Is that Richard? I think it's 90, right? Both Flyers players are not what you would say skating their brains out right now. They're both kind of in coast mode. Because I think what they're looking for is an opportunity to make a line change. Because even if they leave the ice, you still got two defensemen that are in perfect position to stop a lone puck handler on center ice. And so there was some indecision here as the Flyers try to figure out what they want to do. There's Konechny signaling more. So that is Richard. So Richard was either waved off of coming off the ice, told to stay on, and Konechny was told to come off because you can see how they're switching. Konechny is now skating completely parallel to the bench. Richard is still looking at the bench the whole way. He's not even paying attention to the play. He's looking over at the bench. You can see his head turned right here. He's not skating hard. But again, even in neutral ice, approaching the Flyers zone, the Flyers still have numbers here. You got Ristolainen. I don't know what he's doing with a stick. I really don't. You got numbers. I would let him go. This is Kucherov we're talking about. This is not a Flyers player. It's one of the best goal scorers in the world. I'm not going to do anything that's going to enable him to get past me. So I'm going to try to angle him as a defenseman. I am going to try to push him to the corner, push him onto that bad ice that we talk about all the time. I am not going to make an attempt right there in center ice to try to get a turnover, because what could happen and what does happen is he could turn you around and make you look like a fool in a second. But that's what Ristolainen decides to do. But again, we got two Flyers players here still kind of looking over at the bench. Now, there is somebody coming on. That's probably Konechny's replacement. But Richard is still looking at the bench at this point. So let's play a little longer. And then, nope, Richard's staying out. He's still looking back. Maybe he's not. Then he peels off. And I want to pop it back because I'm too concerned about what happened to Richard. He's still looking back. But look, what does Kucherov do? What did I just say? What was Ristolainen thinking? Trying to make a play, because Kucherov can make you look stupid. And he does. He turns him around, and he goes right on by him. Now, Couturier is sort of left in a he's got to make a decision. And I think Sean Couturier played this play beautifully. He kind of saw what was going to happen, and he took a different route. Didn't follow him behind the net, thank God. But Ristolainen made it look stupid. It's turned around. Kucherov's going to come on in. And then we got Fedotov that's, I honestly don't know what Fedotov was doing. I don't know why he bit so hard. Why he bit so hard, I don't know. But he's going to go and he's going to bite all the way. And, I mean, he can't even, he played it wrong. He didn't come out. He was sort of caught in no man's land. He didn't play back in the net. He didn't come out. He played halfway. And that is why he gets caught in this position right here. Now he's down on the ground, sprawled out. He's going to lose his edge. He's going to end up going completely down on the ground. Now, maybe you got to give some credit here with the stick, but Kucherov is in no position at this point to score. He's not going to score at this angle. There's just no way. But Fedotov bit, and again, he played it wrong. Kucherov's going to come right around the net, and again, to Couturier's credit, he tries, but there's nothing much you're going to do there, and then the Lightning score. So just a very frustrating goal. It's one of those goals where, how does it happen, man? How does a player take the puck deep in your own end or deep in their own end and literally go coast to coast? And in the process, skate his way out of a 1-on-4. And then in the process, skate his way out of a 1-on-2. And 1-on-3 if you want to consider the goalie as part of your defense, which I do. So those are the types of plays that I don't think this team should be doing or committing anymore. And this is what's frustrating about this team. Every night, you can single out a play like this in just about every game. No hockey game is perfect. Totally understand that. There's breakdowns everywhere, all over the place. That's part of the game. But these fundamental breakdowns, these terrible, fundamental miscommunication type plays are plaguing this team right now. And again, those plays you shouldn't be able to find every night, right? The breakdowns, yes. The stuff that happens from time to time for game flow, you lost an edge, you fell down, something, whatever. But the fundamental misplaying of hockey, every game you can find it with the Flyers. Now tonight, Fedotov, with the exception of that play, stood on his head for the Flyers. Did an amazing job, kept them in this game. And then the Flyers, when Tippett finally finds the back of the net, thank God. And then the Flyers put in 2 shootout goals and cinch it in the shootout with a much-needed win. Now what, 5-8-1? 5-8-1. Finally break into the double-digit points, now at 11. But it's frustrating to watch. It's frustrating to watch this team play hockey, or it's frustrating to watch this team try to play hockey. But they won, and I'm not going to get too down because it's a big game against a good team who's struggling in their own right now. But on the road with the E-Bug in play for the Flyers, so got to give them credit. The young players did step up, did what they had to do, and they get the win. So all's well that ends well, I guess. Flyers win 2-1 in the shootout. But yeah, there's just some stuff that just frustrates me to no end with this team. And that was tonight's play. The other night, it was the Jack Drury goal. I still look at that tape, and I still wonder, how does that happen? With the Zamula following him around the net, leaving a guy wide open in front. I don't know in what world he thought that was good. And then tonight was Kucherov going tape to tape, distance to distance, and scoring that very weird breakaway goal. I mean, it really wasn't a breakaway. As I said, he was skating in a 1-on-4 situation, then a 1-on-2, and then a 1-on-3. But he still found a way to put it in the back of the net. So, and that's the type of play we can't. And that's what we're missing. We're missing a Kucherov. We're missing that type of guy, right? That's really it in a nutshell. We're missing that kind of guy, and every team has them. Every team that's a legit Stanley Cup contender has a player like that, and we don't have any of them. We have one potentially growing into himself, but we need a lights out guy like that if we're ever going to make any kind of noise in the NHL. And until that happens, until we find a Kucherov, a McDavid, a Crosby, a Ovechkin, a player like that, a centerpiece player, because I don't know if Michkov is that guy. I don't know if he is. I don't know if he's the centerpiece. He's part of it, but is he the face of the franchise? I mean, he struggles a lot about scoring 5-on-5. I mean, him and the team, but I don't know. We got to see. But Flyers do hang on for the 2-1 win in overtime and improving on the season now. Now, on Saturday, they will finish up their little Southern West Coast trip. Southern West Coast trip. At the home of the defending Stanley Cup champion, Florida Panthers, who are 9-3-1, I believe, to start the season. So God be with us on this game. What's the goalie situation going to be like for that game, you ask? We'll have to all wait and see at the same time because I have no clue. It should be interesting. But 9-3-1 against the 5-8-1 Flyers. Should be an interesting Saturday night game. And please make sure that you're tuned in here to the network because I have cleared the ice on Saturday night. So you're going to be seeing a lot of me on Saturday. You're going to be see me with the Birds Blast, and then a few hours after that, you're going to be checking me out on Clear the Ice. So looking forward to that busy weekend here on the network. It's supposed to have been a busy day here. But we didn't have Birds Blast. But that's not going to stop us from talking about the Eagles because Dallas Week, if you would not know it, it is happening because I don't know what it is. Dallas Week is a shell of itself, of its former self, of itself that I grew up in. It's pathetic now. But the Eagles are getting ready to boogie down against the Cowboys on Sunday in Big D. And Dak Prescott, it's only a matter of time, I guess they're saying, before he gets put on the IL or IR. Apparently the hamstring injury has literally his hamstring has been pulled away from his bone in his knee. That ain't right. That don't sound good at all. So his season might be over. The Eagles will come into this game a little banged up themselves. A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, both attempting to potentially return in this game. Goddard's been gone for the last 3. The Eagles are saying that he's looking like he might play. A.J. Brown, who left the game on Sunday, was a full participant in practice today. So was Dallas Goedert. So potentially the Eagles could have both of them back. Micah Parsons, who's missed the last 5 games for the Cowboys, he's more than likely going to return on Sunday as well. So the Eagles will go to Dallas in an attempt to keep the good vibes going against a team that they should win. They should beat the Dallas Cowboys, and not because it's the Cowboys, but they're just a better football team than the Dallas Cowboys. And with that game against the Commanders looming on Thursday, next Thursday, on a short week, with first place potentially on the line at Lincoln Financial Field on Thursday Night Football. Eagles need to win this game, and they need to put it in the rear view, and they need to focus on the Washington Commanders because that's going to be a game. That's going to be a game. But we'll have, again, more on the Eagles on Saturday. Saturday at 6 p.m. Please be on the lookout for the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. Will return to the network on Saturday at 6. Scheduling conflicts, but we'll be back on Sunday or Saturday. So have to do what we have to do. But what else are we going to talk about tonight? I don't think we're kind of wrapping it up, man. Kind of a light night around the sports world. You know what? Let's get into some NHL scores because we got a kind of a full slate around the NHL tonight. Let's head into the games that are currently still happening. At the end of the first, it's 1-1 Kings Canucks. At the end of the first, it's 1-0 Wild over the Sharks. Games that have gone final. It was the Boston Bruins 4-3 over the Flames in overtime. The Islanders beat the Senators 4-2. It was the Panthers all over the Steven Stamkos-led Nashville Terrible Predators 6-2. Predators now 4-9-1 are the new worst team in hockey thanks to the Flyers winning tonight. So, what's going on out there with Stamkos? 5-3 Devils winners over the Canadiens. Devils made some minor news today. Nimiak, their touted young defenseman, has been sent down to the AHL. And they also made a coaching change down in the AHL. And the Utica Comets making a move. Kevin Dineen, former Flyer player, wore the C for a couple years, but way back in the 80s, was the head coach of the Utica Comets for the last 3 seasons, relieved of his duties as the head coach of the Comets. The Devils plays elevated Ryan Perrant of the Philadelphia Phantoms days. I mean, he won a Calder Cup here with the Phantoms, with Richards and with Carter. He played briefly with the Flyers. I mean, he was kind of up and down. He was in the Flyer organization for like 7-8 years. Never really stuck at the NHL level, but has been a hell of a coach. I know him personally. He was elevated to the head coaching position with the Utica Comets. So congratulations to Ryan getting his opportunity replacing Kevin Dineen as they're making some moves down there at the AHL level for the Devils. It was the Sabres 6-1 all over the Rangers, 5-1 Hurricanes over the Penguins. The Utah Hockey Club winners against the Blues 4-2. It was 3-1 Stars over the Blackhawks and 1-0 the Jets over the Avs. And there you have your scoring or your scores around the NHL on this Thursday night, which will, I guess, take me to my final segment. Again, kind of a late night here, really, to talk sports on this Thursday. But you know what? That's okay. It's okay. It's been a long week. It's been a long week, man. But so let's get into our final segment, which is MattyB's card review. This is the set. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's key the music.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. What? Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
All right, so this is MattyB's card review. This is the segment of the show where we go into my sports card collection and we talk about a card. We kind of focus on a card, talk about its value, its financial, intrinsic, sentimental value, all that. Just kick around some facts about the card and revel in the nostalgia of sports card collecting. I have an avid sports card collection that I recently just was able to finalize and organize. And now we're just going to have some fun going back through it and walking down memory lane. We've talked about some interesting cards since we've been doing this segment. It's a daily, nightly segment, and I enjoy it quite a bit. So let's continue on with the flavor. Last night, I believe we were back in the baseball world, and we're going to stay in baseball tonight. And as we've kind of started this segment, which is only a couple weeks old now, I've noticed that I haven't done any Phillies. No, I haven't done any Phillies players. And I was like, what the hell am I doing, man? So tonight, our first Phillies card from my collection will be revealed. It is the 1990 Donruss. You ready for this one? Mike Schmidt. There it is. There, the 1990 Donruss Mike Schmidt. Not what you would call a Mount Rushmore of a sports card. One, it's Donruss, and we all know that the Donruss, still to this day, is not what you would call the card you want to get. It's all about tops, the baseball world. And in 1990, Mike Schmidt's career was from obviously the stats that he picked up in 1989. So this does have some sort of intrinsic value, being that this was his last baseball card. He got the opportunity to have his own card in 1990, even though his career ended in 89. But they gave him a card. And as you can see there on the bottom, all-time great. That was the reason why they gave him the card, because when he announced his retirement in 89, they gave him sort of a homage in 1990. He's the only card in the 90 Donruss collection that has the all-time great stamp there on the bottom, for obvious reasons. He just wrapped up a playing career, and So again, if you're looking at any value of this card, it would be sentimental value because of what the card represents in Mike Schmidt's career. This is his final baseball card from Dunross. And it's a cool card to have, man. It's the design of the 90 Dunross, not a bad looking design. Classic. And of course, the Mike Schmidt image they used, awesome, right? Old Phillies home uniforms, which I miss desperately. It just looks like he's at the vet. Obviously, he's at the vet's home uniform. But this is just a great nostalgic card for me. And on the back of this card, if you flip it over and you look at his name, this is the only Mike Schmidt card that actually has his name as Michael Mike Jack Schmidt. That is how it's written on the back. The only time in his career that his card features his middle name. Again, this is a homage card. This is a card kind of encapsulating his entire career. And they pulled out all the stops Dunross did on this card. He was not an active player in 1990, but he was in 89, at least for half the season, or almost half the season. And they were able to pull together enough stats to give him a 89 stat line here. 42 games he played in 1989 before he retired. But this was in recognition of a great career for Mike Schmidt. Financially, I found this card yesterday, actually. Just sold on eBay for $31. A raw card. And all the data that I can find on this card is from the raw sort of realm. I can't find a card that's actually graded at all, which is fine because that's all I have is raw cards. So $31 it sold for eBay yesterday. Literally just sold yesterday for 31 bucks. It's being listed on a few of my rippable sites at about $6 a card kind of start out. So again, this is more of a sentimental value card, and here it is. Here's the actual card right there. Again, if I flip it over and I show you the back, you can see where it says the Michael Jack Schmidt. And again, this was a card given to him. They didn't have to do a card in 1990. They didn't, because he didn't play in 90. He retired in 89, but they did. There's the all-time great stamp there below. If you look at the card again through grading purposes, this is a pretty clean card. Centering's great. Edges are sharp. Picture is crisp. There's no fading. So PSA 9, PSA 10, $50, $60 card maybe. But this is a card that I don't think I'd ever part with because of the fact that it is his final baseball card. It's in Dunross, which is not the king of all card companies, but still very nostalgic for me. Mike Schmidt's last baseball card, the Dunross 90. As Topps didn't do one for him in 90. Neither did Fleer. So Dunross was the only one who did one for him. And you got to give credit there. And for a great player, as it says down here on the card, all-time great. But there you go. There was our MattyB's card review of the night. The 1990 Dunross Mike Schmidt card given to him to sort of honor his career as the greatest third baseman to ever play. And, of course, the greatest Phillies player to ever play. So there it is. And my first Phillies card, I can't believe it. I've done Sixers. I haven't done any Flyers. I haven't done any Eagles, but had not done any Phillies cards. So there it is. I did a Pete Rose, but it was his Reds card in 87. So there's our first Phillies card. So banner day on the program and on the segment as we debut our first Phillies card. Mike Schmidt, 1990 Dunross, final card of his baseball career for Dunross. So there you go. Good way to end it, right? And that will end it for me. I want to thank you this week. Great week. A lot happened in the world of sports this week. A lot to digest, a lot to pull on, and now we're going to have a couple days to step back, as we will not be back until Sunday night, which, of course, it'll be all about the Eagles at that point. Do some Flyers wrap, see how they did on Saturday. But you're going to hear from me tomorrow or Saturday. I'll be back at 6 on Saturday for the Birds Blast, and then immediately following the Flyers game on Saturday night, which I believe is at 6 o'clock game. So around 9:30-ish, I'll be back for Clear the Ice. And then on Sunday night, we'll be back for our regularly scheduled programming of The Final Word with MattyB. But that's going to wrap me up for the week. You guys are awesome. Have a great night, and have a great rest of your night, and an even better tomorrow. And we'll see you over the weekend. Take care. Good night.
I've been coming up hot for a minute.
Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Drop the top when I'm in it. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Yeah, I flow so slow. Everybody know I'm on it. You know when the click through. Try to send this box to be a so big blood.